Salutations, this is Mario Fiallos. Welcome to the Miracle Mile Podcast, episode 4. Today we're having a different kind of guest. Usually we have local artists or, anyone from our generation that is doing something from DIY aspect. We have someone more on the corporate side of things. Introducing Rolando Nunez.
Hey, how you doing?
Hi. Hope the weather wasn't too much of a travel for you today.
It was. Travel was crazy in New York City.
Where did you come from, if you don't mind me asking?
So I have been in West New York for a long time already, about 9 years now. But I'm actually from Cuba, so I came to the U.S. in 2017. Been in Hudson County since then.
Fantastic, yeah, word. I personally was born here, so I was born and raised.
Oh, nice.
Went off to Rutgers, stayed out there for 4 years, became a whole party demon. So we have very, very contrasting lifestyles. So this will be a very interesting conversation.
Yeah, I went to Montclair, the rivals.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Rivals. Everybody knows Montclair's best. For everybody listening out there.
Sure, man. Anyway, so that being said, can you tell us a little bit about what your business does? Because, people of our age range usually don't know anything about credit or how to even get started on credit. So
I know.
Here you are. This is your platform. And hopefully someone who's listening here who has been avoiding credit can take some notes on you.
I understand. So actually, that's the reason why we started the whole thing.
Okay.
So I came to the realization that credit is one of the most important things that you can have once it comes. Like, people think that credit is this old thing that only old people can have when you're making some real money, and that's actually not the case. I learned that when I started working for the financial industry, and then I worked for TD Bank for a long time. I became a credit analyst for them in the corporate side, and once I was seeing what was done down there and how hard life can be when you have no credit.
Yeah.
And coming from a Latino family, you already know we're not great. Unfortunately,
scarcity mindset.
I know. So it's all about financial education, especially when it comes to credit. And credit is something that if you don't really have a good start, it's very hard to go back to your feet. Yeah. So what we do is we help people from all ages. We have people from literally all over the country, and we help people to pretty much not only teaching them about credit, but also helping them fix those past mistakes. That's pretty much.
That's cool because so I personally don't have like any expertise in that department. My best friend, who is like my roommate, and I've been friends with him since I was like 9, 10, something like that. He went down the money corporate aspect of life. So he is also a shining star in our age demographic where most people have a scarcity mindset. So essentially, I've been able to like pick up a lot of that without being myself let's call it the agent that goes about that lifestyle. Right. But I've read a lot of financial literacy books like Rich Dad Poor Dad, like Napoleon Hill's, like. I actually love that book. Yeah. I wouldn't. That was my favorite one. It's like the sequel to oh my god. Why is it escaping me? It's literally like the more famous book. It's Think and Grow Rich. Think and Grow Rich.
So here's the thing. For me, it was the same thing. So of course, in my country, we don't have no banks. You understand? I come from a communist country. We literally have like a cash run society. It's no bank accounts. It's nothing. Right. Cool. And then you come here and you go to the bank and they hit you with, hey, do you want this credit card? I'm actually when I started high school, I was like 2 years behind because I didn't know how to speak English. So the rules. Yeah. So then what happened? Like anybody else, swipe. Next thing you know, you got $5,000 in debt, and you don't even know where the money went. You don't even know where the money went. That's the worst. That's crazy. So what happens is after that, you start asking yourself, what do I do? I remember I used to be a cashier at Walmart when that happened.
Everyone has a starting story for when they actually started paying attention to the money. For me, it was working at Chipotle. I was like, oh no. For my best friend, it was PetSmart. It was like,
and then you take a look at these other friends that you have from high school that are not necessarily making more money than you, but they, because of the family they have or where they come from, they have access. Right, they have access to that education. That tells you, hey, don't apply to this credit card just yet, or maybe don't keep applying to the Amazon credit card that keeps popping up on the screen. But you don't have that education, right? You don't know how credit works. You don't know how finances do. So unfortunately, that's the path that a lot of us go. But I started paying attention to that and be like, hey, you see, all these people have been doing the same thing that I'm doing. What do they know that I don't?
Yeah, so
that's the question. And then you start taking actions to do that.
The initiative, right. Essentially. So personally, I've been taking more of an educative path down it. I've been more on the preventative measure side of things with credit. I have no credit, like as in like the sense of like manifested positives. I have like no negatives besides college loans, which don't really. I know that that's not really the end of the world or anything like that. So essentially, I'm not in a place where I'm like I can come on this podcast, and be like, yeah, I know a lot about credit. Like I know what I'm talking about. Like I honestly don't. I just know that I haven't done anything that has jeopardized my credit. So like if I were to like start figuring it out, it wouldn't be like, oh man, okay, so we got to figure this out. Like, let's work out a plan. Like
which is a great thing to be, because honestly, a lot of people will tell you, hey, not having a credit or not having a strong file is a problem, and not necessarily. I mean, establishing credit is something that you can do fairly fast. The problem is when you have already made mistakes, then it might become a little more challenging.
Yeah, I've heard stories from friends who already have really bad. Like, for example, if you have like a very bad shopping frenzy in you, like you're a shopaholic, that's like the worst. That's the worst thing for yourself. I have friends who are like, yo, I got the new Yeezys, or like, I thought you were out of a job. No, and they're like, and it's like, okay, well, it's your money, man. Well, technically not your money. Good luck.
Man, we posted in our social media in one of our memes, what was it? Oh, if your credit score is lower than the price of the PS5, you don't need it. So, if your credit score is lower than 500, I highly recommend you don't get it. Bro, no. So here's the thing with credit, right? Because one thing gets to the other. Most of the times, what gets you into bad credit is bad financial habits, right? You don't manage your money well enough. You spend more than you make. Yeah. Therefore, you use a credit card, right? That's what is there. I remember meeting with one of the bank's marketing department person, right? And they ask you, well, what is it credit? What is credit for you, right? What is a credit card? I'm like, well, credit card is something that you can use to buy when you don't have money. He's like, yeah, that's what it is. But that's not what we want to be for the customer. A credit card is something that when you're coming out of work, 4 p.m., you're tired and it's a terrible day, and you see those shoes that you love, it's something in your ear that tells you that you deserve it. Yeah. You see what I'm saying? That's the trick. The bank wants to make you believe that you own this money, that it's okay to use it, and it is. But when you do it in the proper way, you know what I'm saying?
The problem is most people don't do it in the proper way.
Right. So you come. You come out of this, cycle of not knowing how to manage your money to become, a compulsive buyer for things. Then you get yourself into this hole, and on top of that, now because you have bad credit, things are just more expensive to you. Yeah. So it's one spiral down. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, essentially. So, well, I will get back into the subject of credit because that is essentially the business and your trade. But before we stray too far off topic, I also wanted to talk on it since we just mentioned, Napoleon Hill and Rich Dad Poor Dad, which is Robert Kiyosaki. I feel like it's very important to not only just because they make money, but also because they are innovative minds that have been able to establish things in places that without them, their society would be different. Right. So right here next to me, I have this book of yours, El Joven Sonador.
Yes, I'm Spanish speaker for everyone out there. I believe you can notice it on my accent.
Yeah, I'm fluent. So if you break into Spanish, I'm not gonna be like, wow, I'm white.
So I actually this El Joven Sonador, which is as many of many of my followers know, this is my book. So here's the story behind this book. You and I went to the same high school, so you can actually know that they have a really strong Latino presence.
Of course.
And we have an amazing, and I say amazing because I really mean it, Spanish department.
Yeah,
right?
Of course.
So
if we have anything, I know. It have to be the Spanish department, right?
Right. And what happened was I used to love to write in Spanish. And I had this teacher that she was my Spanish teacher, and she is her father is was a very notorious person down there in West New York. Okay. Her name was Manito. We have a street with his name. Big guy over there from the 80s. He was a stand-up guy. And she told me, hey, why don't you come and write something about my dad? It was gonna be something about his life. He's done all these things, right? And we're gonna give it to him as a birthday gift. So I meet Manito, and we have all these, great interviews. I start writing about him. But unfortunately, that very same year before we published the book, we actually, it was not meant to be a book. Before we give this to him, he passed away. Wow. So the family came up to me and he told me, hey, if you think that we can make a book out of this, we'll finance it. And I was like, well, you know what? I've never written a book before, but what the hell, fuck it. And we'll do it. And that's how the idea started. It took me 2 years after that to actually write the whole book because I have to go back. Process. And when that happened, I didn't even have the whole story down yet. So it was a whole process. It took me about 3 years, but it got published in 2017. Wow. And it's been one of I'm really proud of it, and it made me grow a lot, especially my writing in Spanish. I believe that is worse now because English is kind of taking
over. Yeah, English has a habit of doing that too, especially like with anything that comes from culture.
But the reason why I love that book is because, especially that story, is because this guy really can show you, what somebody that comes from nothing can actually do, and that's the story. And starts talking about me, then he switched to talk about him, and then it's me, at the funeral and everything. So it's kind of a dual reality in between what the new generation can do.
Place to be in.
Right, but the new generation can do, and we always tend to remember the old days as better days, but we don't realize that the reason why we remember that kind of things is because the good things are the only things that we remember.
Yeah, it's nostalgia.
So, now we have just the same opportunities, just a matter of doing it.
Valid, yeah. So I consider myself a very social person. Like I like to network. Like to me, before COVID happened in the pandemic, like it was like an addiction of mine to network. Like I like meeting at least 5 people a day. Like it was an enjoyable thing, a factor in my life. When I meet people, I've met people with different kinds of energies. I've met gangbangers.
Everything.
I've met very educated folk. I've met privileged white college students. I went to Rutgers, so like I've gone through a lot of different interactions. And my favorite kind of interaction has always been when you can tell that there's like a very rare sharpness in a person that is like beyond the age barrier that they exist by. I hate to bring up my roommate again, but he's like literally the prime example. He's like very well established. He's like I'm not gonna go into specifics, but he's very well established in his jobs and all that. Like he does things that most 40-year-olds couldn't.
You're like, wow.
Like he's like 23 and he's like running like health administration.
And you're gonna see it happens. I remember when I started working in TD Bank at the beginning, I'm like, well, I'm a little behind. You can always see like your accent and you're not from here. So when I got there, I was in a little disadvantage.
Yeah.
But I believe that no matter where you start, if you really want to get there, you just make it happen.
Of course.
And we made sure that actually was make it happen was actually the logo of the company. Wow. So because that's what we believe in. And when I started in TD Bank, I was able to scale all the way from being a teller all the way to corporate in like 2 years. And the reason, and you just gotta learn, it will be surprising to you the amount of people working at the financial industry and having access to all this knowledge. Because you'll be surprised, banks will really teach you how the game works.
Yeah, of course.
But they just don't apply it to themselves. They just go to work, collect the paycheck, and be out. It's so sad at the same time, but I wanted to make sure that was not my case.
I understand that, yeah, for certain. And I've always had a keen eye for that, and that's why I was mentioning my roommate, because like when I meet people like that, it's so refreshing and rewarding. I honestly didn't know your age range. I was assuming either somewhere in my age or maybe a little older.
I'm about to 25 right now.
Oh yeah, valid. Yeah, okay. So my guess was right, but nonetheless, like it's always refreshing to see someone in our age range like be that sharp with things because of the fact that it's so easy in society to not even because it's wrong. Like if you're a less focused or less productive person, like I believe that like a farmer in their homeland, in their home country, with their own crops and their own like land with their family, like maybe just getting by and like taking care of the crops, tending to that, and just living like a peaceful life is not better or worse than like a person who is in the stock market. Of course. As much as the monetary difference is obviously going to be vast, I feel like there's always a universality or a subjectivity to how life should be lived. But I think there's something very powerful and very important to people that are willing to make the world bend,
right?
Even at their age range, because I feel like we're like, especially our age demographic, we're so set up against working. Like if you look into like how education programs us, like a lot of people aren't taught to think for themselves. They're not taught to plan for things.
Let me tell you something. I've gone through. I come from a family where everyone is a teacher, right? Yeah. My mom is a teacher. My dad is a teacher. My brothers are teachers. Okay. Everyone. My grandma was a teacher. Everyone's been a teacher in my family. A lot
of preaching going on in your house.
A lot of preaching. So that's what you get from the beginning. What you get is, you go to school You work in school as hard as you can. You get the grades. Then you go to college. Then you get yourself in debt, and then you get a house. And that's the American dream. And to be honest with you, there is nothing wrong with that. Like you said before, people equate most of the times money and wealth with happiness, and that got nothing to do one thing with the other. Success is different from everyone.
All it gives you is a more accessible freedom to do what you want to do.
That's right, and but there is a power to wealth, and it's just wealth empowers you to do good things.
Yeah, I mean,
so
it could.
Right, it could, or bad things, or the opposite.
Yeah, it just allows you to amplify what you want to do in life.
Right, but it just happens that unfortunately, not a lot of wealthy people are doing good things these days.
No.
So we want to make sure that we have the opportunity to give good people the ability to make wealth.
That's exactly the whole mindset. That's exactly the proper mindset to go about things. So just while we're on the money mindset, it's refreshing to have this kind of conversation.
Of course.
Because I'm not even like a very big money person. I'm just enough because I have a lot on my back. Like I basically I support my parents. Obviously, it's the pandemic, so no one has the liberties to be complacent anymore. And essentially, I had to put education on the back burner because grad school doesn't have financial aid. Sometimes
it doesn't make sense for a lot of people, to be honest. I mean, for myself, like I told you before the interview, we started. I started Montclair State. I wanted to be a doctor first. Then I realized that biology was not for me, so I wanted to go into the law department. Right. So I always wanted to be a lawyer. However, we wanted to make sure that. But pretty much what happened was, since I didn't know how to speak English, what happened? Everyone kind of influenced me. Hey, you can't be a lawyer if you don't know how to speak English, right? You're not gonna make it in 3 years. There's no way you can go to college. If you go to college and make it into a law degree. And, when I got to college, I kind of say, you know what, I just happen to disagree with that. And I went with it anyways. But back to my point, there is a lot of things that young people like you and I are missing, and they're replacing it with higher education. People go to college just because they want to go to college. They get themselves into crazy debt without any reason why. And I'm the kind of person that believes that not everyone has to go to college. There is a lot of people that makes a lot of money, crazy amounts of money without going to college.
Especially now during the pandemic. I feel like so many people are realizing how bullshit it is because now they don't even have the opportunity to be in a campus and do something fun. I wanted to get on the point of asking you, what is your, since you seem to be someone that's pretty legible, what is your preference, or what is your favorite financial literacy book? You don't want me asking that.
Yes. So my favorite financial literacy book is The Poor Dad Rich Dad. I actually love that book, and it's because I'm actually reading it again.
I read it 3 times. You have to.
Because it's actually something. He talks a lot about taxes. I'm not a strong person. Taxes is not my expertise, and at the same time, the more I find about stocks and credit and all these financial path that I'm kind of getting into. Thank you. It's going to be taxes comes to it. Now I'm a business owner. I have this huge company, and we have been growing so fast. And of course, taxes come into question. If you're running a business, you gotta think about taxes.
Okay, so what are your taxes looking like?
Right, and that book talks about it, and is kind of interesting, the approach that he takes. So that's my number one.
Okay, cool. Yeah, no, I loved Rich Dad Poor Dad. If anyone's actually paying attention to this, God bless you, because this is important for you. But Rich Dad Poor Dad, it was like I believe a lot of millionaires and a lot of investors quote it as being like the initial starter for them. A lot of people will say that just reading that will increase your like personal wealth worth because of like the fact that it teaches you things that you can't unsee afterwards.
Oh yeah.
Like I remember after reading that book, there was so much that like I saw in either family members or peers or just even coworkers, stuff like that like I saw how they moved, and I was like, wow, like it's really just like us. Like, it's just
you just
us.
have to, right?
Yeah. My personal favorite was Outwitting the Devil because it like taught me so much that I was putting like in the back burner for my lifestyle. That being said, as I started when we first started talking, that we're like complete polar opposites. I used to live a very crazy lifestyle.
Believe me, I would too.
Like a really rock and roll crazy lifestyle, especially in Rutgers. Basically, I learned to manifest that into a professionality, and I went by doing events. But COVID happens.
So now it's I know.
It's alright.
It's a difficult time. Yeah, we'll get over it. Hopefully soon.
But regardless, so when I read Outwitting the Devil, it spoke to me very heavily. So because it's if you've read it, Napoleon Hill basically like channels a devil personality to essentially express what it is that he loves about keeping humanity down, and he gets to like the core principles of like drifting and like how much we just continue to practice negative behaviors. And not even necessarily negative as in like violence or like even like something heinous like sexual assault.
Right.
It's the little details. Like it's the tiny little I'll do it later. It's the tiny little like I'm not worth it. It's the tiny little like it's just the little like factors that create a pattern in your life that you just can't rub off.
There is a book that I love actually. That is called 12 Rules for Life, and that it's written by Jordan Peterson.
Okay.
Right, this guy is he's a psychologist from Harvard or something. He's a Canadian guy.
Okay.
And he talks about the 12 rules for life, and it's called the 12 rules for life, the antidote to chaos, right? And he talks, yes, and he talks about it. He clicked into my head when you mentioned that because it's kind of it's hilarious because the first rule. It's kind of like go fix your room, right? Something like that, and he talks about it's so simple, but at the same time, right?
Smallest details that really create the worst habits in you.
and when I read it, I was like, wow, this is definitely me. And how we live in kind of a generation, right? That it's very out there. We have social media, we have all these. You can be an influencer now, and we have a lot of people that really don't know what they're doing in positions of power. And people that really have no life experience or nothing like that, and we kind of tend to fix bigger problems, society problems, without thinking that it's easy, and that we cannot make them worse, which is something that is awful. We're actually great at making things worse, without actually fixing our life first. So the guy kind of makes an argument of why can you just need to fix your room first and then go out there. Because, we kind of delude ourselves into thinking that we have the ability to fix bigger problems without fixing our own inequities.
Scales,
right. And that just brought to my mind because it's an amazing book. You should read it.
I will. I wrote it down. When I write a book down, it means I'm going to read it. Personally, I've always felt that like down to my core. And whenever I'll have like an existential crisis, the first thing I'll do is like clean every detail of my house.
Yes.
Like it could be like 6 a.m. I'll like scrub the oven. I'm like, my roommate will always pull up like, "Yo, you good?
What are you doing?
You good?" I'm like, "I'm good now." Like
I'm actually myself. I used to be. So when I started at the beginning, I wasn't always like this. Like right now, you see me. If you go to social media, it's like suits and the office, and it's always neat, and it's always neat. But it's not being like that all the time. And for me, I don't know what happened, to be honest with you. If I look back, I don't know where I lost. I don't know what happened, but at some point I left high school and I was like, that guy that goes to high school and has a girlfriend in high school and she's like 15 and he's like 30 and you have a bike and a pit bull or something. And I looked at the guy and I was like, I don't want to be this guy. I just don't want to be this guy. So I got to do something with my life. You see, I see all my friends going to places and I'm just here, right? Yeah. And I was very cool in high school and very popular because I was, very party oriented and doing all my crazy stuff. But, it happens that when you move to the next level, that's not cool anymore.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
And you're like, well, now that I'm not cool anymore and now that I don't know I don't have a plan, what do I do, right?
Yeah.
And then the book came into my life and that it gave me kind of the motivation to kind of switch.
Yeah.
If you're going to be an outer, you have to better get your life together.
Of course, yeah. Personally, I came upon that lesson in my own way, shape, or form, but I actually had a polar reaction. First off, in high school, I wasn't cool. In high school, I wasn't partying. I was a cynic introvert. I hated everyone. I was elitist. I thought I was better than everybody.
Wow.
I was not in any way, shape, or form anyone like I am now. When I went to Rutgers, it was like an opportunity for me that I saw where it was like, okay, I'm like 20 miles away from my hometown. I can reset and restart. And I went about forcing myself to be an optimist, a social person, acting like I was like very positive and energetic. But on the inside, I had anxiety. Long story short, after like a year or so, it became very natural to me to be social, and I just grew into it, right? And then eventually, as you said, there's this moment where it's like, all right, wait, but like, you stop being cool at some point. Yeah, for me, that was graduating college. I remember when I graduated college, the summer of that moment, like it was like the most standstill moment of my life. Like it was like I graduated in May and it went June, July, August, silence. I didn't do anything. Like I literally was just in my house in New Brunswick, like every day, just there, like just there. And like I can't blame my housemates because like I have my own free will, but we were all very cozy people. Like we were basically very like chill stoners. And like we would just watch anime and like hang out, eat a bunch of food and like just hang out and like that was it. Like we had a good ass time, but like at the end of the night or in the morning when I wake up, I'd be like, what am I doing? Every single day. And so my thing was, and this is how I came about it. When I went into Rutgers, I saw a lot of parts of myself that I didn't want to continue having, which is the elitist, the negative, the cynical introvert. So I went about trying to change those behaviors in myself. So I went basically forcefully tried like new things out of my range. So when I graduated college, what I did was I decided that since society tells you you're not supposed to be having fun all the time. You're supposed to be trying to be productive. You're supposed to be trying to get a job, a network. Brown knows the right people to get to the places you need to get to, especially in psychology. I was a psychology major. You're supposed to really just like
that's an exciting field.
I love psychology. I miss psychology, but I have to. I took
some forensic psychology classes, and let me tell you, it's kind of crazy that sometimes we take that decision. Hey, I love this, but it's time to make money.
Yeah,
right? and I kind of going back to credit and the business and all that. Because what happened to me in college was it was the reverse of what happened to you. So when I was when I was in high school, I was a disaster. I was super cool, going crazy. I've always been an extrovert. I've never been quiet. And it took me in high school, of course, I was going through, my family was just arriving to the US. Finances were terrible. And I had to, I used to go to school and party a lot and work at the same time, right? I went from being a dishwasher to car pusher. I used to work. I worked at a car wash in Newark. It's crazy in the worst neighborhoods. Very messy. And at some point I was like, damn, and I was getting drunk every night. And in college, same thing, drunk. And then you wake up next day and then you're like, wow, what am I doing, right? What am I doing?
There's no progress.
And then when I started college, it was kind of like I didn't know if I was gonna make it to college. To be honest, I was good in school and I actually got a scholarship and everything, but at the same time, my personal life was a mess.
Yeah.
So I moved to college. I actually was living on campus, and I see all these people, and I had really good influences. I actually started to hang out with people that had their life a little more put together, which is, I believe, is the best way to start.
Yeah.
And I started to look up to them and be like, well, I need to do something with my life.
Yeah,
right?
you gotta configure.
And then I started reading a lot.
That's how it starts.
I literally wrote a book without probably reading like 10 books in my life. And then I came back and I was like, I need to read more.
Yeah.
And I started reading a lot and putting all this in practice. And let me tell you, it's like you have a heavy weight on top of you. Sometimes you're doing okay, and sometimes you're just tired. Just gotta pull through it, and
you gotta do what you gotta do.
And now it's kind of the same thing. I think that weight never really goes away. You just have to like learn how to live with it. And something that it's kind of crazy. And you remember the book that I told you, 12 Rules for Life, right? He talks about there is a chapter super deep, and he talks about having like a meaningful life, and he talks about the weight, right? And he talks about the Bible and how the Bible says, well, this guy, I don't even know the name. I'm not really religious. You're lost in the middle of the desert, and because you're human, you're imperfect, and you're easy to kill. So you're not really too virtuous.
Yeah.
So what makes you virtuous and meaningful? The ability to do something.
Yeah.
So that's what you do. You lift a rock and you put it on top of your chest and you carry it, and that gives you meaning.
Yeah.
Right, and that's very, very powerful.
Yeah, I appreciate that, and as I've said already, it's very funny how we've learned similar lessons, but in completely opposite situations. Because my situation was I was trying to force myself to start thinking productively and thinking like towards professionality. To sum things up, I was offered a job by Rutgers to work with Douglas Developmental Disability Center to basically take care of autistic children.
Oh wow!
And because I had a work study there for like a whole year, and they were like, hey, this it pays like $25 the hour, and I was like, hey, that's not so bad.
That's not bad, right?
But like they wanted me to wake up every day Monday through Friday 7 a.m. and like I was literally like my nickname in college was low key God of Chaos.
Oh my god!
So like I was like, oh, like
you
7
can't.
in the morning. So I was like, okay, like I literally need to walk the line. Like I just graduated from college, and I remember thinking like, all right, so let's spend this whole summer trying to not do things. Right. And every Friday, every Saturday, I got a call from people like, Mario, yo, what we doing tonight? I'm like reading a book. I'm just like, I'm home. Like I'm just here. Anything. I'm just here. So I spent the whole summer doing that. I did nothing because I didn't want to keep like urging myself to go out and be social and be lit. And honestly, it was a very, very existential summer. To sum things up, because it was a funny way of going about. A friend of mine wanted to host a basement show, and his house was not allowing him to do it. I don't know if you know, but New Brunswick has like a basement show scene. Yeah. Where a lot of rock and rappers go on about. And so they were like, yo, first they invited me, then it didn't work out. Then they were like, do you know where we can have one? And I was like, well, we used to throw parties here, so yeah, why not?
You can do it here.
It's also my birthday week, but I didn't really want to celebrate my birthday, but I guess we could do something. Right. And then everyone was like, oh, it's his birthday, let's do something. And like, boom, it became
next thing you know, it's a thing.
Long story short, that event was not successful. It was a hilarious story. We can get into it at some point, but it's a super long story. We're not going to get into that now. But it was a fiasco. But I was made aware by someone that I was very close to at the time that what I was repressing as like what I was considering a bad trait was my skill. Of course. And it was a skill to organize these things. It was a skill to plan things out. It was a skill to recruit and all that. And I was so afraid of like following the dotted line and doing as I'm told that I was like trying to repress it. Right. And then later on, I had a bonfire event the same week because people wanted me to throw my own birthday party. Like people were like, "Why was your birthday? Throw a bonfire!" And I was course, like, bonfire is elite. I love bonfires, and I miss them, but I don't do that shit anymore. But anyway, so there was a point where I threw one, and see, our very own CEO Terry was there. And I have known him from high school. I knew him from track, and I remember he pulled up on me and he was like, "Listen, man, not everyone can call out a bunch of people to come in the middle of the woods and do this." Yep. Yeah. I was like, well, yeah, it's just what I do. He was like, look, we can use you at Reach. And I remember thinking like, all right, man, whatever. Yeah. But those two events basically made me like make my decision. And although, I've definitely learned to better manifest adulthood and that I need to do that essentially, I don't regret doing what I did, which is like literally just going off the grid. Like
no, let me sometimes you do need like a minute to kind of reset and kind of find yourself. And it's life is mysterious, and sometimes you find yourself in different situations that other people don't. Like
you can learn the same lessons in a completely different situation.
And let me tell you something, a lot of people have this misconception that for you to be a professional, you gotta be in a suit. You gotta be the office guy behind the desk. And that's just used to be true in the 80s, not anymore. I refuse
to stop paying my
hey, it is what it is. Let me tell you something. I believe that professionality is all about what you do, how good you are at what you do, and just try to be the best that you can at what you do. Yeah. And that's what we bring to my company. That's what I try to bring to every project that I'm in. And Terry saw the same thing. I remember I never actually interacted with Terry ever in high school. Again, I was in the bilingual world. It was different. And
you had your own clicks and everything.
Right, everything. So what happened is I started the NJ Credit Repair company, and I saw you guys follow me on Instagram, and I kind of started learning about what you guys do. I came to one of the I came to one of the comedy shows that you guys do here sometimes. I love comedy. I love stand-up comedy. Word, that's like if I could watch a stand-up comedy show every day, I would. And it's kind of crazy how we started talking about how we can contribute and how we can get engaged into all these things, which is great. And this just came up. We just did a presentation here not long ago, a summer conference. And I mean, you guys have the ability to take knowledge and culture and all that to a lot of people. And if that is something that NJ Credit Repair and myself can help do, that will just be kind of a way to make our cost bigger. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. The way I've always seen it is I go by a little life model. I'm probably gonna change that model very soon because I'm trying to grow the hell up. But my life model has always been balancing the tethered line between professionality and lawlessness.
Of course.
So essentially, of course.
I believe Terry will the attorney will tell you otherwise.
Yeah, I know. But essentially, as the event coordinator of the marketing company, I've learned my position when it comes to this community. And when I first started, it was always very clear to me that people don't like. People want to say that they care for things like let's say toy drives, like let's say charities, like, let's say soup kitchen, stuff like that. Like they will. It's good for people to say that on paper and virtue.
Oh yeah.
But it's very few numbered people that will actually step out of their way to do very humanitarian things or like actively introduce themselves into their society or community in a positive manner. So knowing that and knowing that more people are more likely to spend their Friday night, getting high or drunk or having some kind of fun or doing something social, I found it upon myself to try and be that middle ground that like makes you interact with your environment whether you want to or not.
Right.
So you come out to a live show that I hosted at a bar and you met this one guy that was a graphic designer,
right?
And boom, you networked. And I've been making it my mission in a sense without really like pushing it too hard because I don't believe in like forcing things to happen.
Right.
I've always been the kind of person that I feel like if we keep creating all these different kinds of media and content, whether it's music or comedy or lo que sea, that essentially at some point down the line, someone's going to see something like J Credit Repair,
right?
And be like, you know what? Wait, hold on. I like this comedy stuff, but this stuff here is kind of important for me. And then they start paying attention.
Hey, the way we look at it is, you know how it works. Cash is king, but credit is power. You see, it's very hard to create wealth and to manage your money with a bad credit. So the way we see it is, it doesn't matter if you're an artist, it doesn't matter if you're a CEO of a company, it doesn't matter if you're starting your own business or you just want to buy your house. Yeah. We know that credit can make it happen. Yeah, so that's our goal. If you have a good credit, then you have the power to do whatever you want to do it.
You got good credit when your card is heavy, or you got free flights.
When it clicks. But the reality is that a lot of people know what credit is. Everybody knows. Hey, I need to have a good credit. It's not a secret, but
easily practiced.
And it's one of the things that always calls my attention because, for example, you and I went to college, and I don't recall having a single class about credit ever, which is kind of crazy to me because by society standards, if you look at us, we're quote unquote educated people, right?
We're not taught to survive. We're taught to follow rules.
Right, so you don't know about credit. I don't know about taxes. We don't know about real estate. We don't know about stocks. We don't know about anything. Yeah. So, and we went to college. So what do you left for people that didn't even go to college, right?
They have to self-educate or otherwise like be a feather in the wind. Yeah.
Right, and it's kind of crazy to me, and that's one of the things that made me decide to start credit repair. Yeah, I mean, it's a great business. We're not a charity, but we have the ability to empower people, and especially our community, because West New York and Union City and North Bergen are Hudson County overall is a community that I believe, if I don't remember well, the average credit score here is about 620.
Yo, I'm above you.
That is crazy.
That's
So it's kind of, when you think about it, you're like, wow, my whole community is really, really in danger. And he's in danger from themselves because at the end of the day, I mean, you can
lead a horse to water, but you can't force him to drink.
And you can't blame somebody else in not giving you the tools that you need. I mean, it's unfortunate that the education system doesn't teach you about credit, but
at the end of the day, you still have your free will to learn.
Right,
and 20 plus years minimum.
And that was our mission. Our mission was to take that learning to everyone and to put free content out there for a lot of people to watch.
That's very valid.
Right, and that's what we're trying to do. And I mean, and to be honest with you, it's not even that hard. Credit is not complex.
Valid.
Credit is just, how do you know what country is your family from?
Ecuador.
Ecuador, right? In our old countries, what do? You go to somebody else back in the old school and you ask them for money. Hey, if I need money, and if you pay it back, then you can ask that person again. And then eventually in the whole town, everybody knows that you're a man of your word. So you can go and borrow money, right? Credit is the American, standardized version of it. It's pretty much saying, hey, credit, a lot of people won't even know what your credit score is. The credit score is like a scale of risk. And the bank will check your credit score to know how risky it is for them to give you money.
Yeah.
And when your credit score is low, that means you're a very risky person. Yeah. And the way the bank manages,
or if there's no experience,
right?
They don't know you.
Yeah, which is but they just, you understand, banks are very conservative institutions.
Of course.
For them, there is only risk or not risk.
Yeah.
So if you have no experience, if you have a history of not paying back, if you have a lot of debt, that is risk.
Yeah, of course, valid.
If you make a lot of money, if you have a good idea,
I can't blame a bank institution. If I was a bank,
yeah,
and some dude who had like negative something dollars asked me for $5,000, I'd be like,
you wouldn't give it to them. You wouldn't give it to them.
No,
so that people need to understand that credit is a scale of risk for the bank. Don't get mad at the bank. It's just that you, in your paper, in your credit report, which is what money. The bank sees about you.
I feel like so many people take money emotionally when it's like not the case. Like some people get uncomfortable talking about money. Some people get angry or like upset that you bring it up. I feel like people like reflect their own insecurity on money and then just are not comfortable talking about it and then make it seem like you're the problem for talking about it. I don't know if you've ever been in that situation.
I know. I mean, I work for a bank, and all the time we talk about money all the time. And unfortunately, you see, people see money as the goal. Money is not a goal. Money is a tool.
Yeah.
You use money to do whatever you're gonna do in life. And credit is about the same thing. Credit will facilitate you how much money can you make out of money that you can leverage from the bank. So here's the deal: if you have bad credit, you are high risk for the bank. The way the bank is going to manage that risk is if you're too risky, they're not going to approve you. There is no money for you. Now, if you have some good credit, 600 and something, the bank will approve you, but the bank will charge you more money, higher interest rates, and lower limits, and you will get higher down payments.
Yeah, all rewards go to people who already have experience,
right,
and who have very good relations
with the bank and very good credit. And that is something that, with the right knowledge, is easy to establish. You just have to do what you gotta do, and that's what NJ Credit comes in, right? Okay. But for the young people, what I will tell them about credit is just start early. A lot of people believe that credit is something that you gotta do when you're like making big money.
Yeah, I know.
And honestly, there is no relation in paper. There is no relation between how much money you make and how good your credit is. One thing does affect the other, though, because if you have bad credit, it's going to be a lot harder for you to make money, because you can borrow money from the bank and start making money.
Yeah,
that's the best way to do it. Nobody, believe me, saving your money is not going to take you out of poverty.
Yeah, for sure. I'm going to start concluding this podcast. We're gonna go into two different sections. One's going to be giving you a shout out for your business.
Thank you.
So you're gonna have like a 30 seconds to a minute to just say what you got to say about your company. For anyone who's listening who might have said, you know what, a lot of these things that they spoke about are kind of real. So tell us a little bit about NJ Credit Repair as a final closing statement.
All right, guys. So I wanted to invite everyone that's listening to this podcast to reach out to NJ Credit Repair. We give you a free credit consultation that is amazing. It's truly free. We're not going to ask you for your credit card, I promise.
That's fine.
And in this consultation, you're going to have the ability to sit down with one of our specialists, go through your credit report, build a plan, and even if you don't get any of our services, you will leave the door with an idea of what to do.
Valid.
Nobody has to charge you nothing to fix your credit. You can do it yourself. Visit our website and YouTube channel, and we're putting a lot of content out there for people like you. So thank you very much. Make sure that you take care of your credit. Let's make it happen.
Fantastic. I love that. I love that logo. That's a good logo.
Thank
you.
You.
A little slogan there for yourself. All right. We're going to be ending this podcast now. Before I say goodbye to you guys, I'm going to let it be known that we're trying to have more live streams, especially more live music shows. If anyone out here listening to this is interested in performing, we're going to be taking auditions and requests for that so that we can get going on the live stream side of things. So look out for future live stream events, and I'll see you around. Thank you for joining us. Say goodbye.
Goodbye, guys.
See ya.